Tonight, convicted BC serial killer Robert Pickton has died.
Come in, okay?
It's not this house.
It is. Okay.
Oh my God.
It is.
What are you doing?
A Winnipeg mother is speaking out after an alarming encounter with Winnipeg police has left her shaken.
So we do need to go back to Indigenous knowledge. That is where traditional knowledge really has medicinal value. It can compete with science in every way.
And a big funding announcement in Saskatchewan to help bring together Indigenous teaching and science. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Officials in Quebec have now confirmed that convicted serial killer Robert Pickton has died in hospital. The 74-year-old succumbed to his injuries after being attacked by another inmate at the Port Cartier Maximum Prison east of Quebec City. APTN's Tina House joins us from Vancouver with family members of some of his victims.
Officials are finally confirming the death of Robert Pickton. Many are saying it's very ironic that the serial killer was murdered himself after murdering so many women. Joining me today are family members of some of his victims. Sarah DeVries. Sarah, can you tell me a little bit about your story and who is in the picture here?
So this is my mother. We share the same name, so she's Sarah DeVries Sr. She went missing in 1998 after my father's birthday. And I can just say with all confidence that her soul and her spirit is finally at peace.
Also joining us today is Michelle Canoe. Michelle, your beautiful daughter Stephanie Lane here is featured on your bag. Can you tell me a little bit about her story?
Yeah, Stephanie went missing in January of 1997. So for 6 years we didn't know where she was. It was just her birthday the other day. I was hoping that Pickton wouldn't pass on her birthday. That would have been the worst thing I could think of, but I'm good now. I'm good.
Hearing the news of his passing, has that given you a sense of justice?
Yes, it does, because we would have never got justice in Stephanie's case. So yes, I feel 1,000 tons lighter today.
Also joining us today is Palahelsia Lorelei Williams. Lorelei, who do you have in the photo here with you?
I have my cousin Tanya Holick. She went missing in 1996. She was my older, beautiful cousin who was a protector of us. And yeah.
And how are you feeling after hearing the words that Robert Pickton has died?
I am feeling overwhelmed with emotions. Like, it's very, very, I don't even know how to explain it. I never knew how this would feel, but it's some sort of justice for me. Yeah.
There's still so many questions yet to be answered. He self-proclaimed to have killed up to 49 women, was only convicted of 6, but was on trial for about 33. I mean, there is evidence that's about to be destroyed from the RCMP. Pickton himself implicated others. Sarah, how are you feeling now, and what would you like to happen next?
I would like to see the preservation of the evidence, and I'd like to see something more come from that. I'm just not quite sure what that looks like at this point.
Michelle, final words. What do you want to say about what happened today, and what would you like to see happen going forward?
Well, the evidence I think is very important. Myself, I think this is the only justice I'm going to get, so I am extremely, extremely happy today.
Lorelei, what would you like to see for next steps?
Next steps is to fight for that evidence to stay. That was why I said some sort of justice, because with him goes the evidence, and I'm going to fight for that evidence to be brought out.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll have much more on this story coming up on Monday. Back to you in studio.
Thanks, ladies. You can find more on this developing story over on our website, aptnnews.ca. A mother in Manitoba is speaking out about a disturbing encounter with the Winnipeg Police Service captured on a home security camera. The content you are about to see may be distressing to some viewers. APTN Sierra Bettens has more.
On May 21st, the day of her birthday, Charity Tom awoke at 4 a.m. to an unexpected banging on her door. It was the Winnipeg Police Service. They said they received multiple calls about an unsupervised 2-year-old child running around outside her house. Tom told officers they had the wrong address and that her kids were inside sleeping. Minutes later, the police knocked again. This time, they came in.
Come in, okay?
It's not this house.
It is. Okay?
Oh my God.
It is. Don't.
What are you doing?
Home security footage obtained by APTN News shows an obviously upset Tom asking for a badge number.
I asked the other cops, I was like, did you guys see that? You could hear it on the camera, and by then the other guy was like twisted my arm and held me down. And I was trying to stand up and they wouldn't let me. They were saying that I was tensing up or something. Yet I just wanted to stand up.
As officers searched her house, Tom insisted it wasn't her child they were looking for.
What's that badge number?
Get up.
Go on. Tear these.
You want to get there, huh?
I just told you.
So then stop acting like a
You.
Okay? Stop here. I'm going to bring the
I'm
drunk
not
in.
doing anything.
Stay
Just
here.
go. I'm trying to stand up.
Despite being threatened with a drunk tank, Tom says she was sober the whole time. The video ends with an officer asking Tom, quote, "Do you want to get arrested or not?" unquote.
Do you want to get arrested or not?
In an email sent to APTN News, Winnipeg police confirmed that officers answered a call about an unsupervised 2-year-old child at 4 a.m. on May 21st, and quote, "Attending officers verified the well-being of the child despite an uncooperative caregiver," unquote. Tom has 3 kids. The older ones are 18 and 15. The third, her youngest, is 7. For now, Tom says she's too afraid of the police to report the incident. She believes this was a case of racial profiling and wants an apology. The Winnipeg Police Service say no charges were laid, but would not provide further information on the incident to, in their words, protect the child's identity. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Still in Winnipeg, where a locally owned grocery store has been under the spotlight for how staff handles shoplifters. A few weeks ago, an alleged assault on a First Nations woman inside the store made headlines. But since then, the owners say violence is on the rise against them. TR Wheatley has more, and a warning: some of the video in this story is disturbing.
Bring some frozen back ribs out, please.
For over 20 years, Munther Zeed's family have owned 5 food fair stores in Winnipeg. He's known around the city for his aggressive way of tackling shoplifting, especially at this location. Zeed says he's invested in over 3 dozen security cameras here, and still, things are getting worse.
Walk me through this particular incident here.
Well, this happened last week, Friday. You will see 2 ladies walk up to cars. The white car is a cousin's car. The black car is my brother's. You will see them approach the car, smash the windows, spray some sort of a liquid into them, and then you're going to see a huge fireball. There we go. So I don't know if they got hurt from that. These 2 girls that came in the day before on Thursday, they were also escorted out for shoplifting. And the type of language they use is, "You think you can do to us what you did to that lady a couple of weeks ago?"
In that altercation last month, a staff member allegedly punched a First Nation woman who allegedly was caught shoplifting. Her son was jostled. That incident led to the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs pulling their Jordan's Principle food voucher program from Food Fair. Soon after, police were called to another incident. This time, 3 employees were taken to hospital with upper body injuries after a violent brawl with 5 teenagers. Zeed says they also mentioned the incident involving the mom and her son.
So they were told either shop or leave. They walked around. One tried to steal. We stopped them, escorted them out. They came back about an hour later, 5 guys, and as you can see, went crazy on my staff, especially one, and he's the one that escorted them out.
That same day, there was supposed to be a joint press conference with Food Fair owners and the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, but it was cancelled with no real explanation. Zeed would only say now that he continues to remain hopeful for a forthcoming announcement.
And I'm proud to say that I received a call today from the executive director of the AMC that we're going to be sitting down to talk about talking against violence, talking against shoplifting, how we can work together in preventing situations like this.
APTN reached out to Winnipeg police to see if any charges have been laid in any of the 3 incidents to date. In an email response, they would only say the entirety of these incidents are being investigated by the Major Crimes Unit. As for the staff member involved in the first incident, Zeid says he is suspended pending police investigation. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
To Saskatchewan now, where today the Federal Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations was in Saskatoon to announce funding for the Canadian Light Source, located at the University of Saskatchewan. The money is going towards incorporating Indigenous knowledge into modern science. Our video journalist Rachel May has more.
As I travel the country, I see many moments where Indigenous teachings, if they were used from the outset, would have had us in a much different place.
On Friday, it was announced by the Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Gary Anand-Sangari that $83 million will be given over 3 years to the Canadian Light Source to help further Indigenous research. The Canadian Light Source is a national research facility that produces the brightest light in the country, which scientists use in health, environment, and agriculture research.
So we do need to go back to Indigenous knowledge. That is where traditional knowledge really has medicinal value. It can compete with science in every way.
Canadian Light Source is working on projects that bridge the gap between Indigenous teachings and modern science. Dallas Pelly is part of the education team at the Canadian Light Source and says tour groups have already seen how Indigenous teachings are being incorporated firsthand.
We've actually had Indigenous students from Carry the Kettle come, and they brought bison hair as an example, and they put the bison hair in the beam line, and they were able to examine the chemical composition of that hair.
In addition to the funding to the Canadian Light Source, an additional $30 million is being donated to the International Vaccine Center at the University of Saskatchewan. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Thanks, Rachel. Time to step aside for a quick break. Still to come tonight, a canoe journey more than a century in the making. Stick around. Welcome back. It's a journey over a century in the making. The Carcross Tagish First Nation is about to set a canoe on the ocean for the first time in 125 years. As Sarah Connors explains, the nation's paddlers are traveling to Juneau, Alaska, where a biannual cultural celebration will soon take place.
It begins with a call to the ancestors. This group of Carcross Tagish First Nation citizens and youth are paddling 150 kilometers from Haines, Alaska to Juneau to take part in a cultural celebration. It's the first time in 125 years that the nation is sending a canoe to the ocean. This practice at Bennett Lake and Carcross is one of their last before they head out to the sea.
I believe my purpose really is in bringing back our great canoe culture, because we were people of the canoes.
For many paddlers, this is a special journey. The route retraces the ancient waterways used by their Tlingit ancestors.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're reuniting and all that and all our traditions and stuff all over. You know, we're getting back to the traditional ways like we should have been a long time ago. So.
A seasoned canoeer, Donna Johns has traveled countless rivers and lakes, but never the ocean. The paddlers here know the journey won't be easy. They have little experience with ocean tides, winds, and currents, not to mention sails, but it's a challenge they're willing to take.
You know, I told them straight up, I don't know what I'm doing either, and we're all learning together.
The group began its journey from Haines, Alaska, Friday morning. They're expected to arrive in Juneau next week on June 5th. Once there, they'll take part in the biennial gathering of Southeast Alaska natives, Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian peoples.
This is going to be exciting, life-changing stuff that they can remember for the rest of their lives. And I'm training them up too so that they can take over later on and keep passing it on.
Johns hopes the journey will inspire these young paddlers to embrace their heritage as canoe people. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Carcross.
That looks like a beautiful paddle. Today, the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation hosted the Imagine a Canada celebration at the Canadian Human Rights Museum in Winnipeg. Students from across the country shared their vision for what a reconciled Canada would look like. The Imagine a Canada project supplies schools with grants of up to $1,500 to implement student-led reconciliation projects. Drayton Perot, Owen Taylor, and Timothy Clark, who attend St. Paul's High School in Winnipeg, were among those awarded a grant. They used the funds to launch a project helping Indigenous Correctional Center inmates access books and literary resources.
I think the most important thing about us doing this project is really these Indigenous relatives, our Indigenous relatives, being able to find a connection within themselves and their outer world, which is a big prominent part of their identity. Being able to connect with one's roots and oneself is really important to us, and for us to be able to, help them gain their self back, I guess, in their mind. And I think that's just really important to us, and we like to help people, and that's just what we want to continue to do.
Congrats, sounds like a great project. Coming up, a new episode of APTN Investigates airs tonight right after the news. We'll speak with award-winning journalist Rob Smith about the documentary after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Thanks to Jacques for capturing this great photo of two adult sandhill cranes spotted near St. Laurent, Manitoba, a couple of weekends ago. This weekend, take some photos and send them to share at aptn.ca, and then tune in next week to see if your photos are our next photo of the day. Time to look at Saturday's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 18 for Fredericton, showers, and 16 in Halifax. 21 with rain in Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 13 in Nain. Sunny and 26 in Montreal, 25 in Val-d'Or. Showers and 24 for Sault Ste. Marie, sun's out, and 25 in North Bay. Showers and 20 for Thunder Bay and Sioux Lookout. In northern Manitoba, 17 with rain in God's Lake, 13 for Norway House, 23 in Winnipeg, showers and 21 in Dauphin, 22 for Regina, Saskatoon, and North Battleford, 19 with showers in Meadow Lake, 8 and rain in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, 18 in High Level, cloudy and 11 for Fort McMurray, 20 in Edmonton, 23 in Lethbridge, 16 with showers in Vancouver, 22 with rain for Kamloops, 15 in showers in Prince George and Smithers. In Yukon, 19 and sunny in Old Crow, showers and 15 for Whitehorse, 10 in Yellowknife, rain and 22 in Norman Wells, plus 4 with snow for Sax Harbor, 3 above in Paulatuck, 0 with snow in Chesterfield, plus 1 in Whale Cove and Baker Lake, 3 below with snow in Resolute, 0 in Arctic Bay. Life in Vancouver's downtown east side has been devastating for people just trying to survive. Wars on the poor, on drugs, crisis after crisis for the unhoused. Tonight on an all-new episode of APTN Investigates, video journalist Rob Smith hits the streets to speak with those most affected. With more on the story, Rob joins us from our Vancouver newsroom. Rob, thanks for being with us. First off, just briefly, congrats on your Canadian Screen Award this week. Well deserved.
Oh, thank you for that. Big surprise.
So, getting to tonight's story, why was this one that you wanted to tell?
Well, it goes back about a year ago. I was filming a news story last year at a decampment of unhoused people on Hastings Street, and just struck at me as just how egregious it was. It just seemed very kind of mean-spirited on part of the city. There was no after plan. There was literally no place for these people to go. But I think getting back to the edit suite at that time, I was looking at the footage saying, well, we're missing something here. It kind of, the viewers wouldn't be, could be forgiven for thinking it was just like a cleanup, you know? So we missed the humanity, the people who were affected in the chaos of that day. We didn't get any interviews with the people. So we wanted to rectify that and do something a little bit more in depth. There was another tent city called Crab Park that we visited this time around, and we talked to as many people as we could, and try to place it within the context of what's going on in the downtown east side on a much broader sense. This housing crisis is just the latest crisis that is happening for the people just trying to survive in that neighborhood.
Indeed. What was your biggest takeaway from this all?
Well, I think, I hope it comes through in the piece, is that just the sense of community that is built up down there. The visuals tell a different story. The visuals tell the stories of people living very rough. And it's true, they are. One person we talked to says people look rough because the drugs are more rough. But through it all, the people living on the streets, the people dealing with their addictions have been able to find their community, and that they are watching out for each other. And I think there's a lesson in there for all of us to see how much they care for each other, even in the depths of despair that they're living in.
Rob, we're seeing this play out really in cities across Canada. What do you see happening next here with this?
It's hard to say. It's pretty complicated. For the housing issue itself, right now we have the city of Vancouver giving that responsibility, because most of these tent cities are in city parks, over to the Vancouver Parks Board. Excuse me, who seem what can I say? Seem to be scrambling on how to deal with this. They admit that they're underfunded. You have park rangers now who are the first point of contact with residents, and their interactions, as you'll see in our show, can be questionable at times, to say the least. What's happening next? We have a national housing advocate who came out with a scathing report to challenge the federal government to get involved and say, consider this a national crisis, and that Marie Jose Houle gave the Canadian government till the end of the summer here to come up with a plan on how to deal with tent cities in a more holistic way.
Right. Well, PBR is set, Rob. Appreciate you taking some time for us to talk about it.
Thanks, Dennis.
You can catch APTN Investigates Wrecking Crew in a little more than a minute from now, following the news right here. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Friday. For more, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. We leave you tonight with some Rib Rageous Viz. Have a good night.